So when I was a fourth-year med student, I rotated with an anti-vax doctor. I didn't know she was an anti-vax doctor when I set up the rotation, but as a DO, part of my training was to learn OMT, osteopathic manipulative treatment. When I saw an article about the dangers of vaccines on her desk, I thought this could be a really interesting rotation, and it was. Rotating with her was like stepping into a parallel world of medicine. Many of her patients were frustrated with the answers that they were getting from mainstream doctors and came to her. However, some things about her clinic were very interesting. There was extensive testing that was only available through cash. A surprising amount of her patients had chronic Lyme disease, babesiosis, or other rare parasitic infections. There were numerous injections, supplements, and oils with very limited to no evidence. And the manipulative treatment, everybody got the same pops in all the same locations, regardless of their different conditions, which was very different than how I was taught to diagnose and treat dysfunction in medical school. I spoke with her that I noticed the articles on her desk and that she was steering people away from vaccines and that she readily gave out vaccine exemptions. However, one thing she told me has always stuck out to me. She said there's only one vaccine that we should give. My cousin's kid had that, and that was not good. I'll share the one vaccine she recommended a little bit later in the video, but I wanted to use this story as a little bit of a tie-in to the book that I wanted to discuss today. This is the book I recommend most to patients, called On Immunity by Eula Biss. The reason I really like this book is because it's not out to demonize people with questions or concerns about vaccines. On the cover we have Achilles' mother as she dips him into the river Styx. And one of the themes throughout the book is Eula, as she has a child, some of her concerns with wanting to protect her child and some of the fears and questions that she has. She discusses a lot of questions and concerns that I hear from patients or that they might not feel completely comfortable discussing. As a board-certified family medicine physician who did my residency during COVID, you can imagine I've had a lot of conversations on vaccines. Most people are somewhere on a spectrum of vaccine acceptance. For me, I feel very comfortable with vaccination. However, some of my patients have some reservations. And I really like this book because it goes a little bit more in depth into some of those reservations that people might have. So to return to the anti-vax doctor, she said the only vaccination we should give is rubella. A couple things to unpack there. It's interesting because rubella is part of the MMR, the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, which is commonly villainized as being responsible for autism, even though there hasn't been any studies to show that there's a correlation. So that's saying something that even an anti-vaxxer would acknowledge its value. What her cousin's kid probably had is what's known as a torch infection. That's an acronym for toxoplasmosis, others, rubella, CMV, herpes. Unfortunately, these are severely damaging and even fatal. But the important point is things do happen, and that's why we recommend vaccination. Oh, and after about a week of this rotation, I said I don't think there's a whole lot more for me to learn, and I ended up switching to a different preceptor. For a lot of people, I'm not sure that my conversations are really moving the needle more towards vaccine acceptance. But if you have questions, I think this is a really good book, and I encourage people to check it out. If this is something you enjoy, consider hitting the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.